Nintendo has finally shown us gameplay for the sequel of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. While we still don't have a title for the game, the trailer gives us a much better understanding on how Nintendo plans on tackling the sequel. In the first teaser trailer 2 years ago, we saw mainly scenes of Link and Zelda exploring what seems to be underneath Hyrule Castle, as they end up finding Ganondorf's corpse. Either in that moment or a bit after, the hand that seems to be sealing Ganondorf's body stops as it goes into Link's hand. This could be the power of the Triforce of Courage finally resonating with its true wielder, and the hand that was originally sealing Ganon's body could have been of the previous hero. But since the power was left to remain sealing Ganondorf's body, it was never able to pass on to the next Link, until now. Whether because it resonated with Link because he was just near it, or the fact that they interacted with it, this is clearly when the seal breaks and rushes into Link's hand. From there, everything shakes, and the malice that was leaking from Ganondorf's body now rushes out full force, without a seal to no longer protect it. This then causes Link and Zelda to separate, as Zelda falls below along with Ganondorf's corpse, leaving Zelda once again to remain with Ganondorf until Link can arrive to help. From there we can assume is where Link's adventure now begins, as he is now separated from Zelda and must discover the new power that has transferred into his arm. And as seen by the weird looking tech that seems to be powered by the same power in Link's hand, this machine may be something Link can control similar to Guardians, but this time with the power of courage that's found in his hand. But interestingly enough, you may notice in this gameplay footage, Link doesn't have the Master Sword. So this could be because he had dropped the Master Sword when he was with Zelda and woke up with completely nothing, having to start fresh. All he has is the power that transferred into his arm, which would make sense in why you have to rediscover everything and attempt to save Zelda from the beginning. But this could also be a way in showing new variety in weapons, as we can see Link in completely new attire from the previous games, along with the new shield, and we can only assume many new weapons as well. Hopefully though, they don't break, or at least can be repaired. But if this is because Link must find the Master Sword again, as he may have dropped it or something, this would make a lot of sense, as Link's final sword is usually the Master Sword upgrade. So once again, we're gonna have to save that weapon as a late game weapon while using a bunch of other different weapons until then. But with that said, we can pretty much assume that this is how the prologue and the story to the game starts, and it will pretty much play out like every other Zelda game, where Link must save Zelda after he awoken from some terrible thing, this time being separated from Zelda and gaining this new power. And now that he has awoken in this completely new outfit with whoever may have found him and helped him restore himself back to normal, whether it's taken a couple of years as his hair did grow out, or it just was a look of a different outfit he's now wearing, overall we know that Link, now with this new power in his hand, must start a new adventure in Hyrule and save the princess, like every legend plays out. This time with new abilities to learn, and all of Hyrule being altered with the many floating islands, including Hyrule Castle itself. The gameplay, on the other side, seems to be taking the whole concept of open air travel to a completely new level. As in the original, you would climb towers, mountains, and just hills in general, and have the air to glide your way down as you can explore and overall cover so much distance because of it. Well, now it seems like Nintendo's way of expanding Breath of the Wild's already massive Hyrule is to add depth vertically, that being with so many new things in the sky. Further than you could ever go before, with tons to explore way above. But unlike the original game, air travel is going to be taken to a whole new level, with Link now being able to dive similar to how he did in Skyward Sword, picking up speed as he falls, and overall having a better and what seems to be faster paraglider, presumably with new attachments to help improve it along the way. And we can imagine that this time, instead of Sheikah shrines scattered all throughout the world, we'll be finding new ways of progressing the story, with maybe the possibility of temples returning. As maybe in Breath of the Wild, the temples lay dormant underground, but now with Hyrule Castle rising, maybe these forgotten temples have risen alongside it. Or maybe these islands we see in the sky are from Skyward Sword, the ones that fell onto the surface before the establishment of Hyrule, and now, tens and thousands of years later, have risen once again. Either way, exploration is going to change completely from the previous game, with now incorporating the sky as a new area of exploration. But aside from the exploration being a massive improvement from the original, it seems like the same will be in the game's combat, with now Link having the power in his hand to use Sheikah-like abilities similar to the Sheikah Slate. And we can assume that Link doesn't have the Sheikah Slate anyways, as it was probably carried by Zelda when she fell. But instead, Link can now use his hand to use these abilities, and they seem to be improved from before, as we see Link use his hand to cause a spiked boulder to reverse itself, going uphill and hitting the ones right behind it. Another new ability we see Link use is the power to phase into walls. However this ability works, it may be more restricting than other normal Sheikah Slate abilities, as it would make areas way too easy if you can just walk through walls. Either way, it seems like a really fun concept that I cannot wait to explore. In general, it could explain why these abilities are a bit different than the Sheikah Slate, as similar to the Malice using the power of the Triforce, with it being able to control Sheikah tech because of it, maybe Link is able to use that power of the Triforce of Courage to control his own tech and make similar like Sheikah tech abilities, in which they use the power of the Triforce of Wisdom, it being the blue aura we see all throughout Breath of the Wild's towers, shrines, and everything else. This honestly seems like a really cool way to kind of incorporate fantasy with sci-fi, making the Triforce energy used as currents that control all of this tech, as we've seen it from the Malice and we've seen it from the blue of the Sheikah, or the power of wisdom, and now we are seeing it with the green, it obviously being the Triforce of Courage. But aside from that, the teaser also shows us new enemy types and ways to fight them, with the common overworld enemy, the Talus, now seeming to emerge in the wrong place, as it can now emerge with a Bokoblin base on top of it. And speaking of the Bokoblins, some of the Bokoblins seem to have a giant horn on their head, which changes the variety of how they look. Another new thing is the Deku Baba-like enemy we see Link take on, and Link seems to be using a fire-shooting shield to kill it. I have to say that this shield looks so badass, and I'm really excited to see if there are other elemental shields like this. I mean, we can already expect tons of new weapons, enemies, and outfits for Link in the sequel, especially when the original game had so much to offer. So I cannot wait to see what Nintendo has in store with Link's gear for this sequel. Especially now that one of his hands will be covered by this ancient power and carry its design. I mean, my guy Link is now looking like Edward Elric with his overpowered right arm. Or if you really think about it, Breath of the Wild has always been compared to Studio Ghibli's art style. And the one movie that is really similar to the game has been Princess Mononoke. I mean, because aside from Link acting and dressing like the protagonist of the movie, Ashitaka, he now has a corrupted-like hand similar to him as well. I mean, come on, Nintendo has to be taking inspiration from this movie. There's no way all of this is a coincidence. And with how Link is dressed in the beginning of the gameplay reveal, I can only imagine him discovering tons of ancient tech and weapons and even clothing that are related to the Zonai. As Link is back in his green attire here, but in a much more Greekish looking setting rather than the Peter Pan look. And this could be of the Pharaon/Zonai ancient tribe of Hyrule's past. Similar to how the Barbarian outfit and the Guardian outfit were. Both armors of ancient tribes that gave Link long hair and overall a different look than normal. I'm really sure that this new outfit we see Link in the trailer with plays a big part in the story and is probably how he starts the game as. And this would make a lot of sense in how Link is originally from the Faron region, carrying the Triforce of Courage. I'll be honest, this outfit sort of reminds me of Link's Ordon look from Twilight Princess, which, as you know, Ordon was found in the Faron province, so again, maybe this is similar attire to what the Farons of Ancient used to wear. But with all of that said, what do you guys think? And my thoughts on the sequel, and your thoughts in general. Please let me know if you spotted something I may have missed, or if you want me to discuss something else regarding the trailer in a future video. Anyways, I think that about does it. I feel like we have a way better understanding of Breath of the Wild 2, especially with this revealed trailer. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and try to hype myself down, as after this reveal, I've been extremely hyped and can't calm down. So do expect tons more Breath of the Wild 2 related videos and overall Zelda content in general. But as always, I've been ZeldaMaster. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and thank you all so much for watching.